All right, ladies, welcome. We have daylight savings, so don't know if we have a lot of people going to join us today, but that's okay. We'll record this for them. I've been praying about the topic for this week. We have a few new students, but if they're good and they don't need to come to these calls, that's fine. We'll do the topic that's on my heart. The topic on my heart is about learning how to rest and play more. And in our day and age, sometimes we feel like there's so much to do. There's just, we can't afford to rest, we can't afford to play. And we have this guilt when we play. So we just want to explore a little bit and be able to muscle test on you, each individual today, so that you can find out how much you need per day and when you need it. So I'll give you an example. One of my daughters, we were chatting, and she's pushing herself and pushing herself. She wants to get through college, so she wants to study, but then she always wants to be productive, and she wants to serve in our church and in our church community. And then she has her job and all these things. Is very typical. And then we burn out, and then we just don't feel motivated to do anything after we have that burnout, right? So how do we continue to have this beautiful momentum and live life more fully with rest and play as a balance, so that we can continue without, dropping down and just having one of those, moments, right? So we explored that, and I thought, oh, this is really, really good, because not everyone is the same. So we can't use the same formula for everyone. We can't say everyone, hey, you need, 8 hours of sleep, you need this and you need that. And everyone, their brain operates at different capacities, right? So when you sit down, do you concentrate so well that the world, is shut off around you? Or do you work a little bit and you can, you're still aware of a million things around you, right? So everyone will be different. Okay, so we'll talk about that too. Welcome, Kim. So first of all, I want to help you clear away some of the, I guess, conditions or fears or worries that we have with rest and play. So first of all, when we're resting, I had my mother-in-law actually, she said she feels immense guilt when she rests, because to her it means being idle and lazy. All right, so first of all, we need to get rid of that false belief of being idle and lazy. Being idle and lazy, has a different definition. So what do you guys think being idle and lazy is?
I think it's more referring to when God has told you to do something,
Yep.
you do nothing.
Yeah. So not obedient, no actions. Yep. And when we really want to be far away from idleness and laziness, we actually do too much, right? So we want to find that healthy balance. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I just, God has commanded us to rest. So I think resting is not passive, especially since He dedicated a day for rest, because it was, and He also finding rest in the Lord. I think it's rest is a very sacred, and it's not passive. It's a time to go into yourself and reflect.
Oh, I love that. So it is a commandment. That's a beautiful way, to remind yourself, I need to rest because God has commanded me to rest. And then this is one way to just dedicate myself to God. Okay. With my daughter, we discovered that every 15 minutes she needs 3 minutes of rest, because she is a super focused person. So if you're talking to her when she's like reading or something, she can't hear you, right? Until, you have to poke her or whatever. And she's like, what? Oh, right? So, in her head, like the teacher said, 1 hour of school equals 2 hours of studies. She's thinking she has to put in 2 hours of studies. And I said, look, kiddo, you have learned how to learn all your life. You listen to something, you make a connection in folders and files in your head, and your learning is very effective. And so if you're going to do studies, you just do whatever homework and assignments you need to do. But it doesn't have to be that formula of exactly 2 hours. What if at half an hour for you is sufficient, right? And she's like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I just keep getting mad at myself, or come on, I need to, work more, study more. There must be more for me that I have to do. And I asked her to test. I said, how long do I need to sit here and focus on this thing before I need to get up and play or rest, right? And so she tested 15 minutes of focus time and 3 minutes of rest, right? And then there's lots of books that tell you 20 minutes here and this many minutes there. It doesn't matter. Everyone is different. So I invite you guys to do the same, okay? So if I need to study like I think Ebony here is studying too, or I need to sit down and do my budget, or sit down and whatever. How long should I sit and do this before I need to get up again? Because you want to have peak performance and keep picking away instead of like crashing and burning because, you push yourself too far. The other thing about resting is that it helps your brain unload. What I taught my daughter was, when you're receiving information, and you're working, it's like the receiving side of your the brain. When you're receiving information, you're putting all of these things into these buckets, right? And then your bucket gets filled up. So for my daughter, it was like 15 minutes, like she's, receiving all this information, inputting, and then done. And her buckets are full and her brain is like really overloaded right now. And so when she rests for the 3 minutes, it's unloading. It's sort of like a little person taking, the little cart thing and then putting those new information into files, right? So I asked her, what do you do when you rest? She said, well, I listen to music, I go for a little walk, I get a drink, I go to the bathroom, just breathe. And so, so you plan how you're going to rest, a totally different activity. And then, as you do that walking, breathing, drinking, your little person inside your head, is taking all of those files and making those connections and then putting all of those things away, right? Emptying those boxes at the reception desk, right? And then, you're ready to receive some more, right? And when you sit down again for the next 15 minutes, you're ready. You're on full capacity again. And so it's an effective kind of resting. And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't realize I do that. I said, well, now give yourself permission and continue to give yourself those breaks, right? And after a certain amount of hours of doing that, you need a bigger break, right? She said, yeah. So she's testing yes. So she tested every 4 to 6 hours. She needs 1 whole hour of rest. So, you can't keep going like that all the time. So she figured out, yep, that's how long I need. So that time is crucial. So you don't have to spend that time being guilty. And I said, what would you like to do in that time? She's like, oh, I just want to, read my fun book, or I want to continue watching the next episode of my Korean drama or whatever. And I said, yeah. And then while you're watching those things, when you're reading that fun book, let yourself feel guilty, right? Because you know that your brain is unloading and resting and resetting to making it more effective, right? So would you guys like to test yourself? Right? Yeah. So go ahead, guys. You can ask the question when I'm working or when I'm studying or whatever it is that you have in your mind that you want to do, right? How long do I sit for, right? And focus. So you can ask, is it minutes? You know, is it hours? Yeah, my husband can sit hours. I can sit about 30 minutes. Yeah.
Jade, can I share something real quick?
Please, yes.
I'm currently muscle testing, but I did a session on myself a while back, and I was struggling with this big time, and I knew I was, which is why I was like feeling so overwhelmed, because I wasn't getting enough fun time. And my personality is like, if there's not fun, why the heck am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what are we doing here? Are we having fun yet? If we're not
Yeah.
having fun, what's the point? Like, let's
Yes.
stop doing this.
Yes.
Right. And so I was realizing that I was feeling heavy and very overwhelmed with everything on my plate. And so I went through a session on myself, and I tested for rested, and I like tested for some oils too. And in the midst of it, I don't know exactly, I was trying to find it in your book, but somewhere in the midst of it, what I got was from the spirit or whatever was, when you rest, Cheryl, that means you trust me. And I was like, wait, what?
Yes, that's
Like,
right.
are you saying that when I don't do that, that's me not trusting you? And that
Yes.
was what the message was. It was like, you don't trust me.
Yes.
You're not resting because you think you have to do everything yourself, instead of trust me to handle what I can do, because I'm God and you can do very little.
Yes.
That doesn't mean I don't have responsibilities, right? I have to show up in certain ways, but physically being someplace and allowing God to then flood my mind with what needs to be done.
Yes.
And even in that very moment. And there has been times when I like woke up, and right now I'm teaching full time. And so I have to show up with a lesson plan every single day, a different lesson plan for 4 grade levels. That gets very overwhelming quick. And I was like, one day I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I have no lesson plans today. And literally on my way to work, God just like put it all, the whole day, in my mind. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, perfect succession of what happened yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, if we just allow God to be God,
Yes.
and I'm not saying don't lesson plan, I'm saying like, it was my responsibility to be prepared, but I had done all I could do.
Yeah.
And it come to the point where it wasn't like I was lazy or hadn't shown up, or literally just simply forgot, because there was other things on my plate, and he handled it for me.
Yeah. I love that. And that goes with the sleep as well. And this is it. We are humans. Like, you can think, oh, come on, I should have like did more and planned more before I went to bed, blah, blah, blah. But we are humans, and that we fall short. And this teaches this humility, teaches us to rely on God, and then just say, look, oh, you know, I messed up, or I'm really human today. Can you help me do the rest? Yeah. Really, it does tell. I remind myself that too, when we rest, then it's me relying on God. And that's where I want to take you guys to the sleep part too. So first of all, let's finish testing you know, your little rest and your little work pockets. You know, even if like for me, even if we're teaching, we just change in a little bit of a activity or something, just to get people up and get the kids moving, get me up, get us moving. We do brain dance and all that. So
Jade, can I ask 2 questions real quick?
yeah.
So right now I'm testing for 2 hours of focus to 20 minutes of rest, to 20 minutes of play.
Yeah.
which feels like, okay, I think my life really actually needs to handle it that direction. You know what I mean? That feels right to me.
Yeah.
And so, but my question is, when you can't get those 20 minutes,
Mhm.
like let's pretend you have to go 3 hours of focus,
Yeah.
and you can't get those 20 minutes, what do you do? That's my first question.
Yeah.
And then my second question is, how do we know like what brings us play? Because sometimes it's just another activity that is more work in a different direction. Is that considered then play, or is that not considered play and we have to do something? And how do we know what is like the play that we need?
Yeah, those are great questions. Yeah, let's answer it together, guys. So, what do we do when we can't do the resting, right? Anyone want to suggest anything? For me, I re-look at the activity that I'm doing, and then I'm finding like a little bit of joy in this, right? Because you're stuck there, so you might as well change your perspective. And the second thing I do is I promise myself, so it's almost like a little kid inside going, oh, I know this is not fair or whatever it is. Like the little kid inside, I tell her, I said, look, we're going to get rest soon and it's going to be in 1 hour, right? So we're going to stretch this 2 hours into 3. You can do this, okay? So it's really about 2 hours in my mind. I'm like, it's me stretching time, but we're going to get play. So we promise ourselves that, and then we give it to ourselves, right? So that's the self-integrity. My friend, she's a Reiki master. She taught me that. She's like, Jade, when the child within calls you, you tell her where and when we're going to do it, and you do it, right? You follow through. But sometimes that child can't come out right now, right? So she needs to be told where to go, what to do, but give her the time when you do have the time. Yeah. So, and I'm like, that makes sense, because we do have to do the adulting sometimes. Yeah. I don't know if that's helpful, Cheryl. Yeah. And then how do we know what brings us play? This is a conversation my husband and I have a lot. And in some of the books that he read, it might mean you're doing more physical or whatever, or mental, whatever, but it just uses a different part of your brain. So it's sort of like, how the farmers do the soil rotations. It's kind of like that. You like used up this part and you're just straining it and stretching it, and then you give it a break and you go over here and you do this other thing. My other daughter, she's picked up guitar, and then she's playing and her fingers like sore, and she's still playing, and she's got exams and things, and she was just like needed a break from studying, and here she's studying how to play this guitar, and it's intense, and she's like and just all of this drama that teenagers can do, and she's in my fingers, mama, you need to kiss it, and I'm like, okay, so that's her play. But I'm like, that's kind of intense, but it uses a different part of her brain. And as long as you ask yourself, that was exciting. Is this joyful? Yeah, it was exciting. I almost finished learning a song or whatever. And you're like, that was play. Because play doesn't have to be like slow and quiet. Yeah. As long as you're
Okay, I absolutely love that. Thank you. I needed that. I needed to hear that. Just use a different part of your brain that is like a rest from what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
That's really
while you do stuff, right, even when you're working out, Cheryl, you get this download because you're freeing up that part of your brain for songs or for work. Or when you're driving, you get all of these things. Or when you're on the toilet or in the shower, you're doing a different activity, and you're like, I need a pen now. Like this download's coming, but I'm not doing the activity that I was doing. Yeah, sometimes when you're forcing it and you're sitting there going, gimme, it's not coming, and you just change your activity and then it comes. Yeah. But I love that visualization of you're resting the soil and you're doing it, you're just rotating it. So just different parts of the brain. Yeah. All right, so a little bit more on rest, but let me ask you guys, have you tested how long you need to do your focused work, whatever it is, if it's school, if it's work? So I know Cheryl said she has 2 hours, and then you test how many minutes of rest in between that you need to do.
I got 2 hours to 20 minutes.
2 hours to 20 minutes. Beautiful.
I got 1 hour to 15.
Yeah. Yeah, and that might change from
Yeah.
before, but currently, if you know that's your range, then you understand yourself more, and then we don't unnecessarily get upset with ourselves for not working longer, or I'm not playing enough, and hey, actually my body doesn't need it. I need just 2 hours of really focused work. Yeah. And then my question is, what is your rest? What does it look like? What is it that you're going to do? Because if we don't plan it, you don't give it to yourself. Yeah. So yeah, and you do look forward to it too.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, yes, I do very much.
I took you off. That was Hunter. Hunter tested 4 hours of focus to 1 hour of rest, and I tested 2 hours of focus to a half hour of rest. So we bought the same thing, but he can focus longer than I can, clearly.
Well, good on him. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So guys, what are you going to do in your rest? Even if it's 3 minutes, what are we going to do? If we just plan it out in our minds, we have a list, then our subconscious has a program, then it can do that, and your rest will be effective. And then when you come back to work, that work will be effective, and so the hours are not reduced. Yeah. What will help you rest?
Okay, I'll go.
Mhm.
I play the piano for rest. I play the ukulele for rest. I
Yeah.
play the guitar for rest. Depends on any given day which one I'm drawn to. I go on a little walk. I go grab a snack. I go dive on my daughter's bed and chat with her for a few minutes. Just some ideas.
Yeah, I love it. That's what I do too. I poke my head in and hi girls, what are you doing? Yesterday I was home. My school gave me the day off so I can do reports. Again, they pay you for that too, so that was nice. So I did my 30 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I can sit and push, but no, I'm going to walk around. So I sat there and chatted with my mom, and we just like had some snacks and chatted, and I just felt like this is fun. I'm really happy. Yeah, I'm glad I let myself do this. Yeah, it's just intentional living, right? So yeah, what else do you guys do for your rest? What would you like to do? Just identifying it, even if you're already doing it, helps you label it as I am resting, even if you're playing your ukulele, and so go ahead, guys.
I like jumping on a rebounder, and I was just thinking before, when we were talking about if you're really under the pump and you have to get something done, even if it's just 1 minute, just get up, change your state, jump on a rebounder for even a minute, just anything, just to change your state.
Less, they're better than none. Yeah.
And then watering the garden. I just love watering the garden.
Yeah.
Or lying on a sunbed, getting the sun in because you've been inside.
Yeah. Oh, sun, watering the garden, that's so relaxing. Yeah. How about you, Ebony?
I like to go into my car and listen to music.
Yes. Yeah. Her little space there. Love it. Yeah, my daughter said the same thing. She's like, that's one song, 3 minutes. Yeah. Any other ideas? Yeah, walk around, stretch, and in your mind label it as I'm resting, I'm resting, I'm resting. So that at the end of the day, you don't tell yourself, I never had a chance to rest today. Right?
Something
Go ahead.
Something that's like come to my mind in the last week of something they need is like before bed, it's just like an hour of just like alone time in my room of like reading, or just like an hour of like consecrated time of just me.
Yes. Alone time is great. Yeah. So good. Welcome, Debbie.
Hi. Hi, I'm so sorry. I got my times mixed up.
That's what I was worried about, you know, because I just realized it was daylight savings. I'm like, oh no, hope my friends got it. Yeah. No, thank you for joining us.
Hi, beautiful girls.
Hello. All my favorite.
I know I don't get to come to these because I'm usually teaching and I got the day off today.
Yeah, that's so great. I love this. Oh, so Debbie, we're talking about resting and playing. So these ladies tested how much work or focus time and then how much rest they need in between, just kind of intervals. Yeah, and it's different for everyone. And so for rest, we were wondering, what do we do just for that 3-minute rest or that half an hour rest or that 20-minute rest that we need? You know, and what are we going to do at that time? Then we will be able to label it in our minds, and our minds will say, hey, I had rest, and it'll give you a little bit of relaxation. Doing something, even if it's active, it's a different part of your brain. So it just kind of relaxes the brain that was working hard, and then it helps that time, helps that brain, part of the brain what did I say?
Recalibrate.
Yeah, recalibrate, unload, and then reconnect, and then just, you know, be available to work again in a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. So we had just for resting, you play your musical instrument, jump on the rebound, go out, lay in the sun, water the garden, play music, listen to music, spend some alone time, breathing, walking, right? Playing the piano, that was beautiful. Yeah, so good plans for our rest. So when we do those intervals for a while, when do we need like a bigger chunk of rest? Yeah, when do we need to, like with my daughter, she said every 4 to 6 hours of whatever. So if she's gone to work and she had 4 or 6 hours of work, then she needs a whole hour. Okay, so test that for yourself, guys. You know, if I have a big chunk, you know, of, for example, you know, if Cheryl had several 2-hour intervals and 20-minute breaks in between, what can she do at the end of it? How long does she need to go until she needs a bigger time of rest? So test it, guys. How many hours? I got 5 for me. 5 hours and and 2 hours of rest.
Okay, hold on, Jade. So I'm a little confused because I'm not sure I could pull this off with my with like what's happening in my world right now. So it says I need 4 sets of those. So that would be like
4 sets.
8 hours, like 9 hours, right? Plus the 20 minutes. So 4 sets of them. And then I get a 2-hour rest. So that's like a 9 hours and then 11 hours. And then I'm in bed asleep. Does that count?
Yeah, maybe that is your part of your sleep, at least.
So how do you go?
Yeah, ask yourself, do I do that as I sleep?
Okay.
Yeah. My poor mother-in-law, she only gives herself a 5-hour sleep a day for 40 years. So yeah, that was crazy. And now she's when she was diagnosed with leukemia, we talked about this, and she gave herself longer to sleep, and then she needed to label some of the things that she was doing during the day as play and rest. And then after 3 months of that, she was re-diagnosed. She didn't have leukemia anymore. So yeah, it's just the way we perceive our daily activities, isn't it, too? Right? Yeah, I read a study with the Okinawa people, like they don't retire. And what they do, they don't consider work. Like they do a lot of gardening, they do a lot of physical labor, but they don't really consider it as work. So in their minds, it's, just keeps them going. That's why they live over 100 years old. And I thought, it's just the way we view things and our perspective. Someone else might say, oh, that's a lot of work every day. I would like to retire from that. Yeah.
Isn't it said that if we're doing what we love, we'd never work a day in our life, though? That was my goal. That was like my ultimate, like this is it for me. If I find what I love, then I never have to work again.
Yeah. It's physical, and it takes a lot of mental power, but in your mind, you don't have to label it as work. Yeah. So interesting. So even if part of your big rest is a sleep or a nap, it's really good to remind yourself, like, whatever it is that you're concerned about, that stresses you out, that you just can't let go, to put all that on the altar. Before bed, you kind of have a conversation with God and unload with him. Heavenly Father, I hand over the worry about this child, or I hand over the worry about my work, or this one problem. You take care of it, you resolve it. I'm going to switch off. I trust you with it. I rely on you, and I'll tell me if I need to do anything. Tell me if I need to dreams that that helps with giving me instructions of what I need to do next. Just give me words or whatever it is that you just speak it, and make those choices with the Heavenly Father, right? And then it's for us, I feel like I told my husband, I'm like, well, it's sort of me telling the Lord, but he's like, well, what if the Spirit's telling you what to tell the Lord? Yeah, because that's what prayer is, the Spirit telling you how to pray and what to pray. Sounds funny, but that's sometimes how it works. So yeah, that's how we are one with him, rely on him more. Okay, so sleep is you really trusting God, relying on God, and allowing yourself to be human. All right. Can we switch to play now, guys? Let's talk about play a little bit. I know for years and years, because I was brought up, as having this very strong work ethic, I was guilty playing, and I didn't ever label anything that I did as play, because then it was immature or whatever it is. So I had to learn how to play. And then I figured out a few things that I like when I'm playing. There's a deeper reason why we need to really adopt play. And I feel like that is for us to learn what it means to have joy as a human, right? Men are that they might have joy. So I think we can have a broader definition of play, and that we can really need to practice tasting joy. Otherwise, there's no point, right, in our existence. For what end, are we created? Is that joy, right? So let's practice that joy. So in your mind, what would you label and consider as play?
I think things that are creative, but and I put this in that category, talking with like my friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sometimes I think we can extend that definition further, right? And it'll help us have more joy. So hanging out with your friends, talking with them. What else? So what is your creative outlet?
Okay, Jade, help me out here, because in my mind, what I would like to do for play is go to a concert or go shopping or go like run around in the park with my kids and like play soccer or like go swimming or something like that. And then when I think of my breaks, I think of like my day to day, I think of my breaks being a different like creative time. Like, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes and practice the piano. Okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes and play the ukulele, or I'm going to take 20 minutes and work on this chorus of my song, or I'm going to take 20 minutes and do a quick Facebook post, or I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like almost like changing gears, but another chore. And that was kind of maybe my question from earlier as well, because maybe I just need to rethink what I label as chores, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then like my drive home, I'll multitask. So as I'm driving it and I know I have this 40-minute drive, I call my friend, or I call my mom, or I call and talk with my husband because I haven't talked to him all day, or whatever it is. So it's almost like, when can I fit that in? When is that the most convenient thing? And that's when I get bogged down with like, I'm always doing chores, feels like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that you got your answer there, Cheryl. Just relabeling some of the things you're doing. Just chatting with your husband could be play. Yeah. So in our minds, we do have that little checkbox, and we try to check all these boxes, and then we can breathe. There's times that in my head, I think, oh yeah, I get this long drive. I'm going to do this and this. I'm going to call these people, and I'm just going to be so productive. And then the Lord says, no, I just want you to be quiet. And then I feel so uncomfortable at first. And then, in the middle, I do, chat with the Lord and just get some downloads, and that was good. But still, sometimes I failed to label it as that was my playtime. Yeah. And then when I'm there at my destination, I'm like, oh, I wasn't productive. Right. And then I feel bad about myself. So it's just a, silly cycle. But lately I've been trying to be more intentional about it, and really, is that necessary that I, feel disappointed in myself that I didn't multitask and get more done? Or, you know, so I asked the Lord at that time, I said, okay, was that what I needed to do with that time? You know, was that what you wanted me to do? Because then that was my agenda versus his agenda. Yeah. And then if I feel that peace, I feel like, okay, that was meant to be, that I just switched off and just, you know, didn't do anything, just kind of listen to the silence and try to feel things, receive things, and maybe just absorb things. I think sometimes we run too much and we are too busy. And that's why the Lord has to talk to us, you know, at nighttime or, you know, early in the morning, and everything's quiet and we're still. So the other thing too about sleep that will help people really value sleep more is that's the time for downloads as well, the divine downloads. So if you consider it as time with the Lord, I rest in the Lord, and Lord, teach me, tell me more things for the work that I am to do. I feel like you don't want to shortchange your time with him. Yeah. So I'm sorry, but I'm busy, too busy for you. I've got all these things. I only can have, you know, this small amount of hours to sleep. And sometimes we think that our sleep is ours. Now, maybe it is, I don't know. But for me, I have learned lately to reframe it a little bit more and say, this is time with, you know, with God, me and you. I'm just going to surrender. And then you work with me in my sleep, you know, as I repair my physical body in my sleep, you instruct my spirit, right? Guide me. It really has taught me a whole new level of surrender. I still struggle once in a while to, you know, when I wake up, I'm like, oh, you know, I've got all these things I want to do and I wish I slept less, or, you know, but then I'm like, calm down. That was the old you. That's the old you. The Lord's got this. His angels got this. You know, you can get things done. And some of those things may not need to be done, even though it sounds really good to get those things done and productive. But is it necessary to be that productive? Yeah. You know, it's this. Yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
I was just going to say, yeah, I had to like redesign all of that. I used to have like certain tasks that I would do every single day or every day of the week. I had to do certain things in my house. Otherwise I couldn't feel peaceful.
Yeah.
And it was just a false belief, which is an unbelief because I'm letting my own belief override my faith. And so now like I don't have like a necessary to-do list anymore as far as like taking care of my house. But I just feel like sometimes I'll just notice like, oh, this needs to get done. And then it's not like it's taking up a ton of brain space, but I'm like waiting for the spirit or like, you know, to just go, okay, now is the time to do this. Like a week ago when I had a baby shower here at the house, like everything else was clean, but my pantry was a kind of a disaster. And so I was like, okay, like it doesn't have to be done today, but it'll be done sometime. And then this morning it was like, I'm making breakfast for my grandkids and doing the stuff. And the spirit's like, okay, like this will be quick. Right. And it ended up being very quick. And it got done. And it wasn't stressful. It wasn't something that was like hanging over my head. But I just think like he will help us organize if we're listening to the spirit.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm not always good at it. Sometimes I look back and go, oh, I missed that prompting or I missed that clue. But then again, I also have hope that like he is trying to communicate with me and I am trying to listen. So
yeah. I love that, Debbie. I'm the same way. Sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh, missed a memo there. I will learn. I will learn. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to give an example like that too. It's just like sometimes you're like, check. And I have these conditions for my peace. Like I can't rest, I can't relax until blah, 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 it's done. And then I'm like, but if I don't do that, I'm just such an unorganized person, and then I'm like, I just labeled myself, stop. So I'm like, I am organized, but this is the Lord's kind of like directed life. So if the Lord says, don't do your pantry yet, you're like, okay, don't do my pantry. Yeah, okay. And then it will be quick. That's what I hear a lot too. And I tell my kids this, and sometimes I forget to apply it for me. So like you go, oh, this is the task, okay, I got to get on with it. And already you're trying to hold your breath because you're like, okay, it's going to be a big task. And then the Spirit says, don't worry, it's going to be quick. It's going to be quick. So I adopt that, and it becomes quick. And you're like, of course. Or sometimes the Lord's like, someone else is going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or can you delegate this, right?
Yeah.
Can someone take care of this? And then you figure out like how you can do that. So
so awesome.
Yeah. I think one of the things that helps me, if something seems to be like coming up and lingering and it feels painful, if I just take a minute and give it a little attention, like, okay, God, do you want me to do this right now? Heavenly Father, do you want me to do this right now? No, not necessarily. Then I just need to get it out of my brain and I'll just put it on a piece of paper, on a list. And then it's out of my brain and I know I haven't forgotten about it. It's going to come. It'll get there, but at least it's not taking up brain space.
Yes. Yeah. Beautiful. And I felt like in the past that everything I felt like I needed to do, I needed to write it down. Right. And yes, that's a very good skill, but it's just, there's a balance there. Sometimes I'm like, oh, and the Lord's like, just do it. Don't need to overcomplicate it, and I'm all, okay. So what we're trying to do is find that joy and that peace, right, in our rest, in our work, right, in our play, because we're practicing heaven. And while we practice heaven, our children are watching, our friends are watching, people who don't have that peace, they want that peace. So when they see that light that comes from you, they want to know what you're doing. And, this is how we can, break it down, deconstruct it, and share with them how they could, I guess, improve their life as we have tried to improve our own. And I feel like that's the most effective way of parenting. In the position that I am at church right now, it's called the Relief Society president. I have all of these families that I'm praying over and I'm thinking about. And I think, let's teach these ladies how to practice heaven. As they try to, encourage their kids. The kids won't know how to do it unless their mama is already doing it, right? And so, instead of, just watching her, tell her kids what to do, we'll just help the mum. And then I'm sure that as the matriarch in the family, she feels this peace and she's practicing heaven. I feel like the rest of the family will start to follow. If she can rest, if she can say, I'm going to trust the Lord with everything is in the Lord's hands, it's on the altar now. I'm switching off so I can be with the Lord, so I can, receive revelation as I sleep and downloads, then hopefully the children will go to bed earlier. If she says, okay, time for my break, time for my rest, You know, I think Cheryl, that word is much better to break. Is a good way to, you know, break the hours and the and rest. Sometimes it's sleep, right? So I can say, this is my break time, and then say it aloud so that the children know that you're taking a break from the activity that you were doing, and hopefully they watch how you behave and they adopt those skills as well. All right. Focus time now, break time now, time for me to play. You know, I'm going to go out with my friends. I'm going to go shopping or whatever it is that we do. Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that I just learned through this talk, Jade, is that I really need to like enjoy more moments and not see everything as a chore. Like I need to like enjoy cooking food instead of thinking, okay, now I have to cook dinner and then I have to do this and then I have to do this and then I have to do, you know, instead it's like, oh, okay, it's time to cook dinner. We're going to take a break from that and we're going to go cook dinner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then we're going to clean up dinner and then I'm going to get back to this task at hand that I need to get to. Right.
Yeah, I love that. My kids remind me, Cheryl, to say, I get to. Yeah, I'll have to go here. I have to do that. Mom, you get to go there. You get to. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, guilty as charged. Guilty.
I get to. Yeah, that's much better. I love that. A friend of mine, she said, as she learned how to be more intentional, she said, Jade, I'm still doing the exact same things that I used to do every day, but now because it's more intentional, all of that becomes more fun. Yeah, like Cheryl said, oh, I have to cook for the kids. I get to cook. Even cooking the same meals, Jade, I feel like this is intentional and I'm in the moment. And I thought, oh, she learned her lesson so well. I'm like, oh, I need just that more too. Yeah. Very good. Anybody else have any feelings or anything you want to express and share?
I'll share about play. There was a couple years ago when I was trying to be more intentional about play. I kind of do a 3-month calendar at a time, but I would just block time and wrote on it play, and it was spontaneous. Or sometimes I would just I committed to, for 1 year, I committed that every quarter, every 3 months, I would have like a half day trip with friends to go hike or go somewhere or whatever. But we can pencil in our play.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that when we were doing that, Debbie. So it was like way back when we first started practicing this together. And then I was like wandering around the house going, it's time for me to play. It's time for me to play. And my husband watches me. She's like, you're funny. You're hilarious. Because I'm like, I'm so lost. What am I supposed to do? Yeah. So I remember that time. Then I'm like, I gotta sit down and pencil it in, and what am I going to do? I don't have that problem now because my sister and my sister-in-law, they're all about play, and any smidgen of hints that I give that I have a little bit of time, they make all these suggestions. And yeah, anyways, today they've already scheduled things for me to do with them. So yeah, I don't have a problem of finding what to do. So that was but it took me a long time to get to the point where I'm like, hey, I get to play. Yeah. Anyways, ladies, we'll close this meeting, and this is so great that we got to talk about this. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you so much for joining me.